I wanted to start in the East with the Bucks in particular, just because I feels like it's like super topical, and I just wanted to get your thoughts first and foremost on like why are the Bucks giving so many interviews uh, that paint the picture of a really fractured club? Can we start there?
Oh man, I don't know. I think the low-hanging fruit here would be the Doc Rivers effect. Probably a perfect storm with the NBA All-Star coming up. I saw Giannis sat down with a really interesting interview with Malika Andrews. He also spoke with The Athletic. Giannis is an available guy, and Doc Rivers has done more than he possibly could to make himself available. And I feel like that actually I think you kind of meant it as a joke in some ways, but I think it kind of cuts to at least the optical problem with the Doc Rivers era so far, and that guy just loves to talk. He loves to talk. He cannot resist a good quip. He is incredibly good at them. That's why the 6 months of Doc Rivers in the media that we got, other than the moments where he was doing an excellent job of painting himself in an incredible light, were really entertaining and illuminating. And maybe that's just what he's supposed to be doing. We know he's a charmer. We know he can woo an ownership group, walk into any interview, and seemingly get the job regardless of what his references might have to say about him. So yeah, I don't know. They might want to. I don't know. I see your point. They might want to go insular for a bit and try to solve these issues from the inside.
Yeah, just no more interviews for a while. I think would really help. By the way, so you mentioned one of the interviews. Giannis spoke to Eric Nam of the Athletic, and he gave a lot of really good quotes in there. All right, I love Giannis's like eternal like, here's my immigrant grind mentality, and he brings
Hmm.
that to every single interview he talks about. Especially the ones with Dame. He said in this interview with Eric, quote, "I'm his biggest fan, him being Dame. Good or bad, I ride with Dame until the effing end. I ride with Dame. Like I've been saying this over and over again, this is his team. Down the stretch, he's going to get the ball. There's nothing else that we will do. I don't know how else to put it. I don't know what else to say. But at the end of the day, he has to believe it too." In fact, when you hear that from Giannis about Dame, what are your thoughts? Because again, that doesn't sound like harmonious. That sounds like he's trying to almost talk to his teammate through the athletic.
Yes and no. I feel like on some level he's just trying to make Dame feel comfortable as well. And it's like,
Okay.
hey, there's not going to be any issue here in terms of you wanting the ball late, or I'm not going to be pouting at the end of the game because I didn't get the ball.
He
Like,
just wants to win.
we are here to see Dame time. Give us Dame time. And so I don't take it so much as that. But the Seerat, the thing I'm interested to know from your perspective is, to this point, I haven't seen enough of a defensive ceiling to see the Bucks as having that championship ceiling. Do you think Doc Rivers can get them there, or can Pat Bev get them there?
Okay. All right. I think we're already seeing the flaws.
Yeah. I think if there's one thing that you do have to give Doc Rivers, it's that his teams have consistently performed on the defensive end, and we are seeing that from Milwaukee. I think last I checked, since Adrian Griffin got fired, they've been a top six defense in the NBA, and previous to that, they were in the bottom 10. And it feels like there almost has been a bit of a Goldilocks effect since Doc took over. I think first, you had Mike Budenholzer, who was really stringent. Like he was very stubborn about the way that he approached defense. Brooke Lopez was kind of perpetually in a deep drop. That was obviously going to have to change regardless once they traded Drew Holiday. You can't really have Damian Lillard and Brooke Lopez as your coverage in a deep drop because Dame can't get around screens the same way. And then the other issue is that Chris Middleton has spent so much time away as well. So then Adrian Griffin to take over this team that has Dame and put in what we are all familiar with as like a very aggressive, trappy, let's bring the bigs up to the top, and try to almost take away everything scheme was just never going to work with this team. And I think the best example of what the Nuggets or what the Bucks should be looking at being defensively is sort of like this versatile conservatism that we saw in their win against the Nuggets, which I think was their best win of the season. But it was cognizant of their personnel strengths and weaknesses. You had Lopez and Malik Beasley switching pick and rolls, turning Jokic into more of a jump shooter, making sure there was a rim protector. You had, Patrick Beverly, new signing, hedging, not hard hedging, but soft hedging to help Damian Lillard when, the ball is in Jamal Murray's hands. Things like that are somewhere in between like the total aggression that we saw with Griffin and like the total conservatism that we saw with Mike Budenholzer. So I think something about that system though is that that's not the type of system you run when you have incredibly high ceiling defenders. It's a type of system you run when you have a number of guys that need to be protected. And they do have good protectors. They have Giannis, they have Lopez. Frankly, nothing happens for the Bucks if Chris Middleton can't be healthy. So for the purpose of the conversation we're having, we have to slot him in there. You got Pat Bev, Andre Jackson is a guy who I love. So I think if there's anything that's working, it is the way that they're playing defense. But to your question, no, it's not a high ceiling defense. I think it's a defense that can take away a number of things, but has to live with giving away some things as well.